What's going on in the Texas House? Well, what's going on in the Texas Senate? We've got all kinds of things going on right now, from bills being filed to make it unlawful for someone who creates a meme, a political meme. Are you kidding me? We talk gambling, destination resorts, losing local control of governments, your city council and county commissioners, MUD, school choice, all the stuff that's going on in the Texas legislature with our friend Kathy Ponce. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss this episode. All right, Kathy, welcome back to Patriot's Revival Podcast. Man, has a lot happened in the Texas legislature since we last talked. I think the last time we talked, we were about to hit the record day for boroughs. What was it, day 40 of not doing committee assignments, to tie the record or exceed that of Strauss. But I think like the very next day or two after you and I talked, House committee assignments got done, and I'll just have you pick up from there.
So you would think that, okay, the committee assignments were assigned, so everything's great, everything's wonderful, we're going to start business, right? No, that's not the case. This has been the longest 2 weeks of organizational meeting. So they've had organizational meetings of the rules into place for their committee hearings and all that wonderful fun stuff. And we're barely getting into hearings now. Now, they did have a hearing 2 weeks ago, right after the committee for Ways and Means. Morgan Meyer, one of the borough's boys, was given the House property tax reform bills to be heard. So there were 3 property tax reform bills that were heard, and they have passed out of the Texas House, which we knew they would. So they'll be going to the floor real soon. And other than that, we have had some hearings here and there, but there's still a lot of organizational meetings going on right now. And, I'm going to say something. I miss Dave Phelan in the fact that come Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday afternoon, we completely knew what the schedule for the House was the following week. I mean, the whole week was just, these are the bills, here we go. Right now, we're lucky if we get our 24-hour notice on these bills and these hearings.
So who's over calendars?
Well, calendars is after the bills have been heard and go to the floor to set up a calendar time for the floor.
Oh, that's right. Okay, that's for them to go to the floor.
Yeah. So it's the committee members
That's
that.
right. Okay.
But, if Borough said, hey, I want to have your schedule by next week, by today, the committee guys are going to get it to them, but it's not that way right now. So it's very difficult. It's like 9:30 at night and you're sending out calls to action for the next day. Just know, everyone, it's not me. It's our Texas House.
Why do you think there's not this sense of urgency?
I think the bills have been chosen that are going to pass, and they don't care. Like, they don't care what we want to be heard in committee. Like, I don't see any of our guys' bills being heard. All I see is Morgan Myers, Cecil Bell's bill tomorrow, Jared Patterson. It's his boys' bills that are coming up first in the Texas House because he wants to protect them. He wants to get their bills passed so he can say, we have the most conservative legislative session ever, and it was all my boys that passed this legislation, to protect them in the primary.
Well, speaking of that, I know that Phelan filed, what was it like? He filed a bill in the last few days to pretty much make it unlawful to create a political meme, which is a ridiculous bill in my opinion. But yet I think I heard today that one is now going to be heard in committee like tomorrow or the next day.
It was today. Yeah. And none of the committee members objected to the bill. They all supported it. So it's probably going to pass out of the committee and be heard on the Texas House floor, where it will probably pass and probably die in the Senate.
That's an example of so many other issues that need to be heard and need to be resolved, but yet they're putting this stupid bill about making it unlawful to create a political meme just because he got upset about people who did it to him. And they've just put that to the forefront. It's so frustrating what's going on in the House. Because like you mentioned, Burroughs and his army, and I guess part of his army.
Yeah, he is. And, I mean, as Republicans, we're supposed to support the First Amendment, whether we like it or not,
Right,
whether we
right.
like what people are saying or not saying. The First Amendment is the First Amendment. So this just shows that he is no Republican.
That's unbelievable. Unbelievable. So what about 5-day weekends? That's continuing, right?
It is continuing, but I'm not making excuses, but with this being the first week of really having committee hearings, there wasn't going to be a lot of housework to do. So, it's kind of like they're down there. Everybody's down there. All the guys are down there. They're all there to meet with and talk to. And so what they did yesterday is they were passing more resolutions. It's going to stop now. The long weekends should be done. I mean, there's no hearings or anything on Friday, but once the committee hearings get going, that should stop. That should stop.
Well, the reason I brought up the long weekends is because I know our very own state rep, Brian Harrison, every time there is a motion on the floor to go for a 5-day weekend or whatever, recess. But I know Brian's always at the back mic and he's always got so much opposition. Jeff Leach in the background. It's just frustrating to know that there are people like Brian and Brian and others down there trying to get to work for us, but yet there's still all this other opposition for everybody that just wants to continue to, like you say, before these committee hearings started, but just very frustrating to the grassroots.
It is. It's very frustrating. And I don't want to discourage the grassroots from being involved, because I'm going to tell you right now, yesterday there were more Democrats down there than there were Republicans.
Even for gun owners lobby day?
A little over 200 of us. But there was, that whole gallery up on top was filled with all Democrat groups yesterday. The school choice bill, too, was being heard yesterday.
Ah, okay. Okay. Yeah, for HB 3.
We're going to have to make our voices heard. We can't just give up. We can't give up. We have to make our voices heard. We're starting to come into, the committee hearing time, and we're going to have to show up for whatever bills they do decide to throw us. I think it's still the big focus is on Trump and Elon Musk, honestly. I don't think we have that messaging still that all politics is local. And we've come a long way on it, trust me, but I think we still have a long ways to still go.
So now that we're in committee hearings in the House, of course, the Senate's kind of been rocking and rolling for a while. What do you think we're going to start to see? What do you think will come to fruition out of both the House and the Senate? Well, let's back up. Last day to file, is that not Friday? What do you think you'll see the House rocking and rolling? Really, are they going to get to work and do anything? And what bills do you think will come out of committee? And then maybe what are your thoughts for the Senate as far as what we can expect?
I think from the House, we're going to see Cole Hefner's ban foreign nations from owning Texas land. And I know when meeting up with him yesterday, he said he's totally rewritten his bill. He's going to he's filing a whole new bill, and it should be filed on Friday. So look for a new bill on that. And I expect that to be heard right away. We do have some gun bills coming up. We do have some election integrity bills coming up, but we have also, we have a lot of criminal bills coming up, like Carl Tepper, who is right next door to Burroughs. He has a lot of bills to increase the criminal accountability on burglaries, on auto thefts, and bills like that. So I don't see any of our legislative priorities being a priority, but I see some of the smaller bills starting to come through.
Okay. What do you think about? I mean, there were rumors that a deal had been done. I think you made mention of this at our GOP meeting, but I'd also heard this through, other podcasts and things that I listen to, that there may have been a deal done to get school choice to go through so that we can have destination resort to get that done to where it'll be on the ballot for voters to decide. And I think, was it Mitch Little and somebody that came out and said that the deal had already been done, and you even mentioned Patrick has kinda our lieutenant governor, Dan Patrick, has kinda been silent about this. So talk a little bit about this, and I want your thoughts for everybody out there on what do you think truly went down, and what do you think we'll see?
It's really sad because I've always been a champion of the Senate, and they really screwed us over on Monday. And we'll talk about that after in regards to local development bills. I think Dan Patrick has made a deal with the House that if you guys hear SB2, which is their school choice bill, then he will let their casino bills come to the Senate to be heard. Because every session in the past, he's come out and said, nope, we're not going to pass casinos. I'm dead set against it, and so are my senators. So don't even bring it here. And he has not said anything, nothing, no ex tweet, whatever, no statement on casinos whatsoever. So that is what's making us think that, yeah, that deal has taken place and he's going to let them be heard in the Senate.
Knowing our Texas Senate, what do you think the ratio would be of those that are for and those that are against these destination resorts?
I think it'll be really close because I think the mentality will be let the voters decide. Put it on the ballot. Put it as constitutional amendment.
Wow.
I think that a few will stand up, but I overall I think they're just going to say give it to the voters. We're done fighting this. And I don't know if you saw it today, but the main group
Okay.
that bought out the Dallas Mavericks, Adelson is her name. She just started one of the biggest hit campaigns on Matt Shaheen up in Collin County. I mean, it's nothing like I've ever seen. She is hitting him on social media. She's hitting him with TV commercials. She's hitting him with flyers. And so I think she's using Matt Shaheen as a scapegoat of, if you want to come against us, this is what you're going to get.
I'm hearing that was that was almost like there's part of their strategy to buy a portion of the Mavericks so they can have a captive audience and use the Mavericks and the Dallas Fort Worth area and now being in Texas as a platform for really pushing the destination resorts. And then, they're just right down the road from Matt Shaheen. So yeah, it's very getting ugly.
It is. And also they went to the Irving City Council to get permits to start building their destination zone resorts. And if y'all have time, watch the city council meeting because it's pretty interesting. Irving City Council actually just elected the youngest city council member ever in the state of Texas. He's like 23 years old. And you need to watch him fight this and fight these people. It was a really good city council meeting, and they denied him the zoning permit.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know, these casinos, these destination resorts, I think I mean, it's already getting ugly, but I think it's not good for the rest of this session. And then if it's on the November ballot for constitutional amendments, then I don't know, that's not good. It's hard to get out. I mean, you can get out and block walk and do as much as you can for that, but I don't know. Since you've been in Texas, can you think of any constitutional amendments that have not passed?
No, no matter how we've tried, they have all passed. And, the thing I really need Texans to understand, we have HB2, which is the public funding bill, which gives the state more control over public schools and puts more control into Mike Morath's hands. And then we have an all-out assault from the Texas Senate in regards to taking all local control away from development. There's never been a more unprecedented time in Texas that the state wants control over every single thing that we do. These Republicans want to take all the local control away. They don't want your city council or your county deciding if you should have high density or not. They want to come in and tell you what your lot size is going to be. They want to come in and tell you how much money you're going to get for public education. And these are the stipulations. And if you don't follow them, you don't get to have your funding. And that includes mandating more counselors for SEL. So we have got to fight for our local control because blue states have state control. And we are losing our local control really, really fast. And it's not by the hands of the Democrats. Because I actually found 2 Democrat bills that were written to keep local control. And it's the Republicans that are filing the bills to take our local control away. We have to really, really look at what the Senate's doing.
Yeah, I got your action alert on that. And so I was really surprised to read that. So where do you think that's coming from? What is driving that?
So this is what's driving it. It's in Paul Betancourt's mind. He believes that if you have more quantity of homes, then you're going to keep the price down, right? A market. So you have to have a housing market to keep the cost of housing down. That was one of Abbott's big, pushes was affordable housing. We've got to have affordable housing for Texas. And the housing market it's out of control in Texas. And it's no longer, let's go to Texas and buy a house. Because they're in the $600,000, $800,000 range here in Ellis County. So in Paul Betancourt, supply and demand, right? The more supply we have, then we won't have such a demand. So it'll bring the housing costs down. And the state needs to come in. So like Ellis County, for instance, has a mandate of 10,000 square foot lots for the county. Okay. Well, that will be erased. And the minimum lot size would be 1,400 square feet. So you want this tiny little lot. And you're going to have these homes going up. You won't see any more single-story homes. You're going to see 2 or 3-story homes just all packed together. If there's an area that's zoned for commercial, it doesn't have to go through the council. It doesn't have to go through the commissioners. It can just become high density like that. So you have a commercial zoning right in the middle of the city. There go your apartments. So when I mentioned this to the committee, I says, well, you're kind of going off of California. You're using that as an example. I said, the state took over zoning and housing controls 15 years ago. How's that worked out? I said, it hasn't. It's still a problem. It's still the most expensive state to live in. It's still unaffordable to own a home. I said, so you think supply and demand and state control like California did is going to fix this, when in a reality, you're following what they did and it's going to do nothing but destroy your local level.
So they've already had the committee hearing for that?
Yeah, that was on Monday. And this is really scary because, I don't know if you've heard that we have another Muslim development in North Texas. So we have that one Muslim development. They only want Muslims to live in it. And it's up in the Anna area. And so people are fighting that. So they have another development in Princeton, all Muslim. And they have actually gone through the Islamic Association to make it a Muslim development. Now, mind you, Jeff Leach passed a law 2 years ago in the last session that segregated communities are illegal in Texas. But now they have a bill coming up that says if you are a church or a religious organization, you can build density and affordable housing. So you've got the, Islamic Association, and they're going to use this bill if it passes to say, well, we can do this development and it can only be for our Muslims.
Wow. I guess I had not heard that about the Muslim community up north. I did not know that. Wow.
2 of them.
Wow.
One they've been fighting for a year and the other one just popped up.
Wow. That's a little shocking.
Yeah.
Goodness. What about, I heard today, Terry Hall, she was talking about the mileage. I think last session something got brought up on a tax on mileage, and I remember you even talking about that. And she's talking a little bit about that today, but I think, can you provide an update on that?
So we fought text by the mile hard last year, or last session. I think that's one of the biggest, battles I personally had. It passed in the Texas House, and then it went to the Senate, and it went to the Transportation Committee. And it was the last week of hearings in the Senate where it went. And I sat there for 3 days watching those guys, making sure they did not bring that bill up for a vote. It died in the Senate, gratefully. Now, I don't know, I have not heard of a bill filed this session, but we got 2 days left. And Friday, we're just going to get hounded with bills. I know that that's one of her top priorities, is to make sure that the tax by the mile gets defeated again this session if it comes up. I don't know if it's going to be that big of an issue. I don't see it on Burrow's radar necessarily. I think he's got other things he wants to accomplish. You just never know with this Texas House. You just don't know. And obviously with the Senate, the way they want these development bills coming through.
What other things do you think Burroughs wants to accomplish?
I think he wants to get a lot of his guys' bills through to help them in the next primary session, which I don't know right now what they are.
But nothing that so
I think he will get school choice passed.
okay. What else do we need to be keeping our eyes on?
The development bills coming out of the House, because they have some pretty bad bills filed too.
Well, folks, that wraps up our Texas legislative update from our friend Kathy Ponce. Hopefully, you got some good information from that. Sounds like a lot of stuff is going on. School choice is highly likely to pass. We've got destination resorts that may be on the November ballot for Texans to decide whether or not we want casinos in Texas. And just even the bill, like she talked about how the Senate is trying to take away government control, local government control, city councils and county commissioners, and it's all about housing and whatnot. And so this is scary. This is our Texas legislature, folks. This is a red state. We are supposed to be strong conservative. We are not for government overreach and government control, and something like this bill, and even the violation of free speech of how Dade Phelan filed the bill to make it unlawful to create the political meme. This is just craziness that's going on in the Texas House and even in the Texas Senate. So you don't want to miss these updates. We will do another update with Kathy probably in a week or two, because things are going to start going fast. So your altar call is, if you haven't already signed up for Kathy's legislative updates, please do that, please. And if there is something that is the burr under your saddle or the hair on your biscuit, whether it be losing local and county government control, whether it be destination resorts and casinos, whether it be school choice or whatever it might be, or MUDs, whatever it might be, Kathy is going to be sending out those emails fast and furious. So txpolitics@gmail.com. That is txpolitics@gmail.com. Sign up for Kathy's updates. Would love to have you get engaged. It's not just about casting your vote, folks. It's about keeping Texas red. You want to know how we keep Texas red? Is making sure that our lawmakers down in Austin don't push all of these government overreach type things on us, and all of these things that are a violation to our Republican Party platform and our principles. So do that. Get involved. Get engaged. Stay up on these alerts. And don't forget Psalm 119:25 that says, "Though I lie in the dust, revive me by your word." Dust off your Bible, folks. Get in God's word. Be praying about our legislators. Be praying about all of these bills that are going to be heard in committees, in the House, and in the Senate very, very soon, as we are inching closer to the end of this 89th legislative session that is coming up just at the end of May, early June. So Be in prayer about that, folks. That's all we have for you this week. Hope you have an awesome week. See you next time. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed the show, please follow us and tell others. If today's show revived your faith and your inner patriot, join the Patriots Revival Facebook group by going to facebook.com/groups/Patriots Revival for resources on how to get involved in being salt and light in a world of darkness. Finally, if you would like to contribute to the production costs of the Patriots Revival podcast, you can do so through Zelle by inputting info@patriotsrevival.com as the recipient. Thanks again for listening. I hope a reviving week.